Hello there. It is Bev. This is the Bev D Show. A little later in the afternoon here, about 3:38, and I just was in the middle of doing my late afternoon routine. In between work, I start preparing dinner and things like that, and I was just one of those things I was compelled to tell you about. And it requires raw honesty, as I always am, but a little bit of vulnerability. I'm always talking about ways to get through and get by and stay positive and strong and the whole hang in there attitude and all that good stuff. And I was reminded of something that happened to me. And it was about a week or so ago. And I was out and about, and there's tons and tons of construction that we're dealing with on one of our main arteries around my home to get you to a lot of retail things so you can run your errands and such. And I wanted to tell you about an incident that happened. And it was me thinking I was following, the directions of the construction, and I was a little confused, and I was kind of watching what everybody else was doing and thinking I was following that. And so what they're doing is they're trying to widen the road. And you have the option, obviously, to turn left, to go straight, or to turn right. For some reason, the arrows to turn left were stuck on red. Now, I did not realize that. The only thing that might have tipped me off was these people in front of me, 3 or 4 cars ahead of me, I noticed turned left on red. And I was like, oh, geez, busy intersection, cars everywhere. No one cares. I live in a area where people I know everybody. If I took 10 people, those 10 people would say nobody knows how to drive. But in this particular area, we're dealing with a lot of moms rushing around to get their kids, to an event or pick them up from school, or dads hurrying up so they can pick up their kids and get back to work from school. So it was probably my fault that I went out at a time when there was extra traffic because school was being let out. But I was, sitting at the intersection. I noticed that, and I thought it seemed strange. But I realized that there was these couple of cars ahead of me that were sitting there for quite some time. And the lights went green for people to go straight or turn right. I noticed cars coming at us, I'm going north. So I'm noticing the cars, lots and lots of traffic, just all sorts of traffic going east and west. And I'm sitting there, and there's a car behind me, and then there is a big truck. And I'm one of these people that I am always looking around, constantly, forward, left, right, rear, constant. And especially these days when, anything can happen, and it's just a crazy time out there with the way folks treat each other. And I noticed this guy get out of this big, it was like a semi, but it was more like a transportation, like transporting equipment. So, but I saw the big, front red hub of this thing. And all of a sudden, now it's my turn. I'm at the light. I want to turn left. There's 2 red arrows. And I was just waiting. I was waiting for traffic to clear. I was waiting for those to turn green. I was just kind of looking around, honestly, like, what do I do? Because traffic was coming at me at a fiery speed that would be traffic going south. And I was sitting there and I was doing that thing like when you first learn how to drive and you're afraid to turn left, or you're afraid to go straight, or you're afraid of you just building your confidence. And I was sitting there, that thought ran through my head. I feel like this is the first day I was driving. And I look out in my side, left driver mirror, and I see this, big burly guy. He's got long, little bit of long hair. Just to describe him, I'm just kind of giving you the lowdown on what he looked like. And big puffy chest. He had on one of those yellow reflective vests. So obviously he seemed to me like what would be a construction guy. And, just a very, very large man. He gets out of his truck door is still open, and he's walking up to me, toward me, waving his hands in the air. I can't hear him because my window was up, and he comes over to the side of my car, and I crack my window, and he screams at me, and he said, "Those lights are broke. Everybody knows this. Just you have to turn left on red or nobody's going anywhere." You could just tell he was so pissed off and just, in this fit of a bit of a rage. And I just looked up at him and I said, "Oh, okay." I couldn't even think of anything else to say. I rolled my window up. I see him walking back to his truck. He's waving his arms, shaking his head. Total, complete frustration, this guy. And I knew that if I was turning left on red, that I certainly wasn't going to turn left on these cars coming toward me. So I waited for that green light for the people, that could go straight along with me, and then I would be turning left, and the traffic cleared, and I went on my way. The point of me telling you this story is how much I was shaking, how that just took what was sort of a normal day. I wasn't having the best day, but it took a normal day, and my heart was beating so hard. I was in such fear and thought anything could have happened there. This guy just walking up to my car, screaming at me. I mean, he could have caused a reaction, from me to do the wrong thing. And on my way back home, I actually had one more stop to make, and I was shaken up so bad that I just went home. I just needed to get home. I just wanted to just kind of rest on what had just happened to me. Now, that might not seem like such a big deal to some people, but I will tell you how it was around, I would say, this time that it totally, in my mind, took over my day. And whatever I was feeling good about, that was out, was gone. I just was so shooken. I just was devastated about that. The negativity, the anger that he had, the frustration that he had. And I felt helpless. And, that's where we are. That's where we are, unfortunately. Not that, men or women haven't been yelling at each other, or raise your hand because, in the car pissed off because somebody does something wrong on the highway or whatever. But I started thinking about how much of an effect we actually can have on other people's lives and strangers. And I know we've all heard, one negative comment can wipe away 10 positive ones. And the fight to keep in a positive sense, or in a controlled sense for that matter, because Now I'm driving home. I'm very nervous. I'm, concerned. And luckily, I live close by to where this happened. And I just wanted to get home, be safe, and kind of, if I could have, I would have just curled up in a fetal position and called it a day and watched, just binge watched something comforting like Friends or Andy and Mayberry or something like that. But I couldn't. And when I was raising it reminded me of when I was raising my girls. I always told them, when you're picked on or somebody does something mean, remember that is their bad day. That is them projecting their negativity, out on you. And any of that logic was gone. And I did, you guys, I started crying, and I knew that, I needed to do that, but that wasn't, I'm reacting in a way, in all the ways that I knew better, but there was nothing I could do about it. It was the way I felt. It was what was going on, and there was no escaping it. And so the reason why I wanted to share this with you, my lovely listeners, is because it was something that I had to take a moment and really pause about. I prayed about it. I asked God's help. I needed to get through it. And I was thinking about, you can go out on social media and you can there's just countless videos of people whipping their phones out and filming all these terrible situations, people yelling and screaming at each other in stores. And, it's just becoming, the more of that, and, and you look and you see that it's got, 1 million shares, 1 million views, 1 million comments, everybody has an opinion and such. And I was just thinking the level of disdain that we have in our universe. And as a warrior for myself, that, I have to fight my own demons and negativity within myself, I realize that we have to really step up our game. And there is a vortex of negativity, and it's so much easier to be mean. It's so easy to be negative. And I thought about, I'm reading this book, and she talks about when you're really upset with someone, think about them as a child. Think about you as, when you were young, and think about how if you were a child, just give that example to that guy coming and screaming at me, what would I have done as a child, and what would have caused me, to feel this poorly about it. And I think about, because when we're born and we start getting into stuff and we start tumbling around and touching things that are hot, and no, don't do that. Or you pick up something that's breakable. No. Or you get to an age 5, 6, 7, 8 where you really have done something bad, and your parents are mad and they're scolding you, or you're, being punished for something, usually in the best circumstance, if you're getting punished for something, it should be something that you knew better. You may have already learned that lesson. Now you did it again, and now you're in trouble. That's how it's supposed to work. But me, in my situation, sitting at the light, waiting, trying to do the right thing so I don't cause a wreck or get a ticket, trying to do the right thing, I still got scolded at. Now, this guy doesn't know me. He goes back to his truck. I sure hope his day got better, and that, he just doesn't flip out on people like that. But I really did have to start thinking about, his life. I had to start thinking about, what would cause him to be that ferocious. Nobody else getting out of the car yelling at me, just him.